Hi, it's Feature from Sewmate. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be showing you how to make a buttoned up cropped shirt with an extended facing. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do, and make sure to turn on your notification bell so that each time I upload new videos you get notified. You will need your basic shirt or blouse block pattern to do this. I've got a tutorial on this channel on how you can make one. I'll leave a link in the description below and a link above as well. So starting with the back, trace around your block as usual, making sure to mark all the notches. Lift your block, draw in your underarm line and your waistline. Now I'm adding an extra 5 centimeters to the length and then a 4 centimeter wide hem. So 4 centimeters for the hem allowance. Now drawing a straight line connecting the underarm point to the hemline like I'm doing here for the side seam. Now coming to the neckline, I'm just outlining my seam allowance for the neckline there, all the way. Then also outlining my shoulder seam. So this is our center back, and we're going to measure from the center back to the neck shoulder junction along the seam line that we just drawn there for the neckline. Write the measurement down. So we're going to be putting our center back on fold, adding notches to the pattern, adding a grain line parallel to the center back, and labeling the pattern back shirt, cut 1 on fold, and I put my initial. Now we're going to fold along the hemline so that we get a good shaping for our hem there, and cut around the pattern like I'm doing here. Now our shirt is finished for the back. Now we're moving on to the front one. Get your front pattern and make sure you've got a folded pattern paper there. From the fold line, you're going to measure 2.5 centimeters in for the button extension. Draw a straight line and now align your center front to this new straight line that we've just drawn, and continue tracing around your block like I'm doing, making sure to mark all your notches. Lift your block, draw in your underarm line, your waistline, add the extension 5 centimeters, and also our hem allowance 4 centimeters like we did with the back. Extend all your lines further to the fold line, and drawing in my side seam. So that's a 2.5 centimeter wide button extension at the front. Square a straight line straight to the neckline as well. Now we're just going to outline our neckline seam like I'm doing here. So just from our original center front line there, and outlining the shoulder seam like we did with the back. So now we're going to be measuring from the center front line all the way to the neck shoulder junction along the seam line there. Write the measurement down. Adding notches to the pattern. So 5 centimeters away from the center front line, draw a straight line down like I'm doing from the underarm line down to the hemline. From this line, we're going to measure 13 centimeters away, put a mark, and square another straight line down all the way to the hemline again. At the top, we're going to add 4 centimeters for our pocket hem. And just extend your lines all the way through to that point. Now I'm adding some owl punches 3 millimeters away from the corners there, so that they'll help me to position my pockets when it comes to sewing. So we went 5 centimeters away from the center front, and this is 13 centimeters wide. Our hem at the top 4 centimeters. Now adding seam allowances right around the pocket there. And adding notches. Get a fresh pattern paper, put it under your pocket, make sure it's well covered. We need to trace out the pocket pattern. With a tracing wheel, just trace around the outer edges of your pocket like I'm doing here. And also trace out the notches. Remove your pattern. Now outlining the pocket. And adding notches. Labeling the pocket pattern, patch pocket. For the shirt, cut 2, and I put my initial. Adding my grain line. And cutting around the pattern piece. Now the pocket pattern's finished. Now bring back the main pattern. Make sure you've got a folded pattern paper. If not, you have to make an extension on your pattern paper so that you can be able to draft our facing extension. So from the neck shoulder junction there, we're going to go in 7.5 centimeters. Then at the bottom, we're also going to go 7.5 centimeters from the fold line. Now following through the neckline shape there, 7.5 centimeters down, just follow through, and 7.5 from the fold line, jot a few points and draw a straight line. Now with a curved ruler, join in a nice curve like I've done here. Now trace around your facing piece like I'm doing here, making sure that it goes to the bottom paper and cutting around our pattern. Now we're going to outline the facing piece on the other side like I'm doing here, making our extended facing. Cut around the pattern. Make sure to trace this notch, is very important. And we're going to fold back along the hemline so that we get a good shape in there, and cut around the rest of our pattern. Open the pattern, put another very important notch here. Putting the rest of the notches to the pattern and labeling the pattern, front shirt. Cut one pair and I add my initial. Now just outlining my new center front line at the button extension, okay? Adding a grain line to the pattern, parallel to the center front. So this is an optional step. I'm just going to trace out the extension of my facing piece there so that I'll be able to cut my fusing easily when it comes to sewing. So I'm just making some dotted points like I'm doing here. Lift the pattern, and with the curved ruler just connect all these dotted points together. in a straight line. So that's for cutting the fusing pieces. I'll need 1 pair of them. So our front shirt pattern is finished, and now we're moving on to making our pocket flap. Just draw a rectangle of 13 by 5 centimeters wide. Five centimeters, and this is 13 centimeters. Adding seam allowances right round. Adding notches to the pattern. Now labeling the pattern. Pocket flap. Cut 2 or cut 1 pair, it's the same thing. And adding my grain line to the pattern piece. Now cutting around the pattern. Now I've just decided to put my pocket flap on fold at the top there, so I'm just gonna remove the seam allowance. And I'll put the top end on fold now. And our pocket flap piece is finished. Now moving on to making the sleeves, you need your basic shirt sleeve block pattern. To do this, I'll leave a link in the description below and a link above as well. So now trace around your sleeve like I'm doing, from elbow notch to another elbow notch. Draw in your grain line and your elbow line. Drawing in my underarm line. Now we're going to measure 10 centimeters along all the 3 lines and put a mark. Measure 10 centimeters down the other side and blend in a straight line like I'm doing here. Now adding a hem allowance 4 centimeters. Fold back along the hem line to get a nice shaping for our hem allowance there. Now cut around your pattern. Adding notches to the pattern. Labeling the pattern, shirt sleeve. Cut 1 pair, and I put my initial. So we'll use the original grain line. So the sleeve pattern is finished. Now we're moving on to making the collar. Get the front neckline measurement and write it down, and your back measurement, and write it down as well. Add the 2 together and write the total down. Now first draw a straight line and square another line across like I'm doing here. And this is going to be your center back line. From the center back, we're going to put in our back neck measurement and put a mark. This is going to be our shoulder notch. From the shoulder notch going forward, we're going to put our front neck measurement. So this is going to be our center front. Square another line up using the center front point like I'm doing here. Now we're going to go up by 1.5 centimeters and put another mark. Get a curved ruler and join the shoulder notch to this raised center front point like I'm doing here. Now we're going to measure from the center back along the raised center front curved line there for our total neck measurement. Just follow through the curved line and put the mark where it is. So we're going to have our collar width of 7.5 centimeters, put a mark along the center back line, square a line right across using this point that we've just marked. Go past the center front line there. And from this point we're going to measure 3 centimeters out and put a mark. Now join these 2 points together with a straight line. Adding seam allowances right round 1 centimeter. You can use whatever seam allowance you're comfortable with. All the way to the center back line. Now transferring my shoulder notch across to the edge of the pattern and smoothing everything out with a curved ruler. And we're going to be putting these 2 sides on fold. Now cutting around my collar draft. Next, get a fresh pattern paper. Fold it like I'm doing here 2 times. And make another forward line. Now get our collar draft. I'm cutting the top edge, aligning it to my pattern paper below and just pinning everything down nicely. Make sure your folded parts are on the folded parts of the pattern paper below. Cut around your pattern like I'm doing here. And putting my notches. Another one will go to the forward line there, the center back. Remove the pins. Open the pattern. Adding my notches for the center back there. And now labeling the pattern. Convertible collar. Cut 1. Plus 1 fusing or half fusing. I decided to fuse the whole piece. Now adding a grain line to the pattern, you can either cut it on bias or on straight grain, it's all up to you. And adding my initial. Now my collar pattern is finished. Bringing back all my patterns now. Now all our pattern pieces are finished. Now we're moving on to sewing. Now on to making our cropped shirt. What you need are your completed patterns, your fabric, your buttons, and your cutting tools. And for the fabric, I'm using this beautiful poplin fabric. So now let's move on to cutting. Now all our pattern pieces are cut and ready to sew. So the first thing we're going to do is to go ahead and interface all those pieces that need to be interfaced, which are the pocket flaps, 2 of them, my collar, and the 2 front pieces. Okay, so you're just going to interface the extended facing piece. So first grab the collar piece, fold it back lengthwise, right side facing, and we're going to pin along the sides here for both sides. We'll take this to the sewing machine and we're going to go on and sew from the edge to the fold line, from the edge to the fold line, back taking at the beginning and at the end. We'll put this on the side for now. Grab the 2 pocket flaps and we're going to go on and fold them back lengthwise as well, matching the edges, and we're going to go on and sew from the open edge all the way to the fold line on both sides, back taking at the beginning and the end for both pieces. Next, take both the pocket pieces and we're going to take this to the overlocker and overlock from this side all the way up the top edge and all the way down. Lift the bottom edge and overlocked. Okay, do the same, overlock from this edge all the way up top up to here, lift the bottom edge and overlocked. Okay, after that we're going to go on and fold back the top of our pocket using the notches that are there, and we're going to go on to the sewing machine and sew from the edge here all the way to the fold line, and here as well from this edge all the way to the fold line, back taking at the beginning and the end. We do that to both pocket pieces. Okay, putting this on the side as well. Next, grab your back piece, lay it on the table with the right side facing up. Grab both your front pieces, lay them down on top of it, right side facing down, matching the shoulder seams, and we're going to pin along the shoulder seams. Now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew along the shoulders and overlock them. Let's go and do all that now. Okay, now so that's all done. Now I'm gonna put the top on the side for now. Grab the collar piece and we're going to go ahead and trim the corners here. Turn it to the right side. We'll take this to the iron and iron it nice and flat. Putting this on the side. Get the 2 pocket pieces and we're going to turn them to the right side as well. We'll take this to the iron and we're going to iron the seam allowances nice and flat. Okay, like that for both pockets. Put them on the side. Get the pocket flaps and we're going to go on, trim the corners as well. Then turn them to the right side as well. Now take all this to the iron as well and iron them nice and flat for both of them. Let's do that. Okay, now so we finished ironing all our pieces. Now we'll take the collar piece and we're going to take it to the sewing machine and give it an edge stitching 3 millimeters away from the edge all the way to this corner here. After that we're going to go on and give it a top stitching 5 millimeters from the 3 millimeter stitching, that's our edge stitching, and we're going to go around pivoting at the corner, going all the way to the corner, pivot again all the way down here. Put this on the side. Get the pocket pieces. We're just going to go on and give it a top stitching about 3.5 millimeters from the edge. for both pieces. Grab the pocket flap pieces and we're going to go on, give them an edge stitching all the way around, and then after that give it a top stitching 5 millimeters away from the edge stitching all the way around as well for both pieces. Now bring back the top piece and we're going to go on, lay it on the table with the right side facing up, exposing the armholes. Now grab your sleeve pieces. Make sure you've got the right sleeve for the armhole using the notches that we've got there. And we're going to pin along the armholes all the way on both sides. So we're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew along the armholes and overlock them for both sides. Let's go and do all that. Okay, now so that's done. So what we're going to do now is to lay our front pieces open like this, right side facing up. Get the pocket piece and we're going to lay it on top of it using the owl punches that are there, and just pin them down. Do the same on the other side. So we'll take this to the sewing machine and we're going to do an edge stitching at these edges here, the long edges. After that we're going to give it a top stitching 5 millimeters from the edge stitching all the way down. Same here, 5 millimeters from the edge stitching all the way down. Back taking at the beginning and end for both the pockets. Okay, when we finish that we're going to go ahead and put the top pieces on top of the back piece, right sides facing, making sure to match our side seams and the sleeve seam. Then we're going to pin along the edges here. Now we'll take this to the sewing machine and we're going to go on and sew from the sleeve hem all the way down the side seam to the top hem, and we're going to overlock both sides. Let's go and do all that now. Okay, now so we're going to lay our top on the table with the right side facing up, exposing our pockets, and we're going to grab the pocket flaps, lay them on top of the pocket like this, and pin them down. Now we'll take this to the sewing machine and sew from one end to the other with a 1 centimeter seam allowance from this edge here. Do the same on here as well, 1 centimeter up from one edge to the other, back taking at the beginning and end. Let's go and do that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and trim the seam allowance for the pocket flap just to 3 millimeters. Okay, just leave 3 millimeters there. Now we'll go back to the sewing machine again and we're going to turn this over on top of the pocket like this, and we're going to give it a top stitching 5 millimeters from the edge all the way from this edge to this edge. Do the same with this one. Close it down, top stitch 5 millimeters from the edge here, from one end to the other. Let's go and do that. So what we're going to do is to lay our top with the right side facing up and also our facing extensions out like this. So what we're going to do is to take this to the overlocker, overlock from this edge all the way down to the hem of the top. Follow the whole hem through, overlocking, and we're going to overlock all the way up here as well to the other facing piece. Let's go and do that. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and lay our shirt with the right side facing up, exposing the neckline like this. Get your collar piece and we're going to go on and align the notches for the center back and for the shoulder notches and pin along. Now grab the facing piece and we're going to fold along the facing notch here, which is our button extension notch. Okay, fold back right there and just pin along the neckline. When you get to the shoulder seam here, you're just going to go on and fold back the facing piece and just pin it down like this. Repeat same on this side as well. Now we're gonna come to the shoulder notches on the collar piece here, and we're going to open our collar to leave just one piece attached to the top like this, and we're going to notch in by 1 centimeter at the shoulder notches here. Notch it. Just one side of the collar. Pin it upwards. So now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew from this edge here, from the fold line all the way around the neckline to the other fold line, making sure not to catch this part, okay? When we finish that, we're going to come to the hemline here. Make sure you fold it back nicely at the notches for the button extension, and we're going to go on and sew with a 4 centimeter seam allowance here, okay, from the edge all the way to the fold line, and we repeat the same on this end as well. Fold at the notches, sew at 4 centimeters from this fold line all the way back here, back taking at the beginning and end. Let's go and do that. Okay, now so we've sewn the neckline. Now we're going to go on and just clip along the neckline. Next we're going to go on and turn this to the right side. Now to finish off the collar, we're going to go on and clip on here at the shoulder notch. Make sure not to go through the stitches there as well. Okay, so now we're going to push this seam allowance under the open part of our collar here, push it in there, then fold this part on top of the seam. Make sure you're covering the seam here and pin along it. So now we'll take this to the sewing machine and we're going to give this an edge stitching from the shoulder notch all the way to the other shoulder notch. Okay, when we finish that, we're going to come to the bottom edge here, turn it to the right side like this, repeat same on here, turn it nicely to the right side. Now we'll take this to the iron this nice and flat, and also iron down the hem allowance all the way around. Then we go to the sewing machine and we're going to hem our top as well, which is a top stitched hem from this edge 3.5 centimeters all the way around until we get to the other edge here. Let's go and do that. When we finish that, we can also go ahead and hem our sleeves. So overlock right round, and then we're going to go on and fold our hem up and just give it a top stitch hem as well, 3.5 centimeters right round. Let's go and do all that. Okay, now so we've done that. So now what we're going to do is to grab this folded part at the shoulder seam, and we're just going to lay it on top of the shoulder seam like that, pushing everything in, and hold it from inside, holding the two seam allowances together. And we're going to go to the sewing machine and just attach the two together here. Okay, we'll repeat the same on the other side as well. Hold it from inside, and we're going to stitch as far as we can get these two together. Now whilst we're there, we're also going to go on and finish off our top by sewing on our buttons and buttonholes. So I'm just gonna put 3 buttons here like that at the front, and then I'll put 1 each on the pockets. Okay, let's go and do that. So that's it. My cropped shirt is finished and I'm happy with the result. Thank you.